Welcome to In Pursuit of Truth. This is your host, Sir Patrick Mack. If you have not watched part one of this video, please go back and do so. This is just an addition on to the end of that. I had to break these videos up because I am having some severe computer problems as well as some rolling blackouts in my neighborhood, internet issues, you name it. It's been going on today. So we're going to move on without any further ado. 2 minutes past the hour of 8, we have these two tweets from President Trump. Why was the FBI sick loser Peter Strzok working on a totally discredited Mueller team of 13 angry and conflicted Democrats when Strzok was giving crooked Hillary a free pass, yet telling his lover lawyer Lisa Page that will stop Trump from becoming president? Witch hunt. Yeah, Peter Strzok, this bold guy, was going to stop Trump from becoming president. Didn't really happen that way, I guess, but that's what he thought he was going to do. President Trump keeps mentioning these 13 angry and conflicted now Democrats. I wonder if those are the same Democrats that were sharing those Google emails. I suppose that would make one angry and conflicted. Well, that's clearly biased stuff. Now, President Trump says the Democrats should get together with their Republican counterparts and work something out on border security and safety. Don't wait until after the election because you are going to lose. Wow. How about that? That's some tough talk from the POTUS. And then we've got this 7 in brackets. Then I'm wondering if this is that 7 Delta. So could we be on some sort of 7-day countdown? You let me know. But Q says trolling is fun. And it sounds like Peter Strzok is getting trolled. And he doesn't want to get trolled no more. As a matter of fact, he had his attorney write a letter. Dear Chairman Goodlatte, I represent Special Agent Peter Strzok. I have read press reports that you are initiating the process to issue a subpoena to Special Agent Strzok to testify before your committee. While you are, of course, free to continue pursuing this process, it is wholly unnecessary. Special Agent Strzok, who has been fully cooperative with the DOJ Office of Inspector General, intends to voluntarily appear and testify before your committee and any other congressional committee that invites him. Wow, how about that? Now, that was of June 16th. The letter to the House Judiciary Committee. Strzok to testify before Congress. No immunity. Will not invoke Fifth Amendment. So that's a pretty big deal. And, of course, we had this post from back in April 27th that said he was a cooperating witness. Q says, public learned today. Why? Well, this has been going on for a little bit. What must be finished? Probably some testimony, I would imagine. You can't be doing that out in the public. Why still employed? Well, because this is still in-house. And it's an in-house investigation. So as long as he's an employee, he can be, I would assume that if he was fired, then he probably would not have to testify and probably not be held under the same standards. That would be the purpose, I guess. Lisa Page released after? Well, she was released after her testimony, right? So I would assume that Peter Strzok will be released after his testimony. Just because something isn't public doesn't mean it's not happening. And of course, this is referring to all the DOJ texts and emails. Then we get this Guardian link, and we actually covered this a while back, but let's look at it again. From April 2017, CIA liaison is the first casualty of conflict between intelligence agency and Trump. Retired Marine was abruptly let go from position, informing relevant White House officials about covert operations following clash with NSC official. Now, I'm just going to kind of paraphrase some of this here. Excuse me. That Marine officer was the CIA's liaison to the White House, whose duties included bringing relevant White House officials with appropriate security clearance into the loop about covert operations. According to current and former White House and intelligence officials, he lost a bureaucratic struggle with his nominal boss, the National Security Council's controversial intelligence director. Multiple former colleagues described the former CIA liaison as a consummate professional with no history of infractions, but late one afternoon in mid-March, the retired Marine was abruptly informed that his services were no longer needed and he ought not to come back work the next day. Co-workers were shocked at a display that seemed designed to humiliate him. It was the most disrespectful thing they could have done, said a White House official familiar with the incident. He's a good man. What happened to him was up. Over a month later, the CIA has not sent a replacement liaison to the White House, though there are other agency officials on loan there. The ex-liaison has not been accused of any crime or abuse and has returned to the CIA. The liaison's removal, first reported by the Washington Post, followed a clash with Ezra Cohen Watnick, the 30-year-old intelligence director on the NSC staff to whom he reported. Cohen Watnick was a junior case officer at the Defense Intelligence Agency, where he caught the eye of Michael Flynn, the ex-DIA director and the first national security advisor to Trump. When Flynn came to the White House, Cohen Watnick was among the Flynn deputies whom career national security staff came to view as a clique, derisively known in intelligence circles as Flintstones. For their part, the so-called Flintstones viewed the career staff as Obama loyalists and excluded many of them from national security decision-making. When Flynn's downfall came, owing to the way he misled Vice President Mike Pence over contacts with the Russian ambassador, his ultimate replacement, the current National Security Advisor, H.R. McMaster, sought to oust Cohen Watnick. The CIA, which Trump had for months disparaged, distrusted Flynn and was uncomfortable with Cohen Watnick remaining as an intermediary between Langley and the White House. But McMaster lost out to Cohen Watnick, who persuaded strategist Steve Bannon and Jared Kushner, Trump's son-in-law, to protect him. A Newsweek profile reported that Cohen Watnick's parents have ties to Kushner, an added asset for Flynn. So right, this Cohen Watnick guy. And Cohen Watnick, he was Christopher Walken. Remember, I told you he was going to come back in the middle of the movie, and here he is. And this guy was let go and then brought back. He was one of Flynn's guys, so I can't help but think he must have known something about Flynn. And of course, Q is saying that the CIA people have been dropping, and they wanted, all the deep state baddies wanted this young Watnick guy to go as well, but Trump brought him back. Down 19 this year alone. That's a lot of folks, and I guess that would be due to their lack of intelligence, huh? When will records be unsealed? I'm going to assume probably within maybe the 7 days. Could that be what the 7 and kill brackets is for? Could it be coming in the next 7 days? Shock and awe. Well, yeah, probably, but I think we're ready for it. Let's just have it. Just give it to us. Projection, Q says. Well, projection is classic of not just the DNC, but the deep state. Anything that you want to know what they're guilty of, just see what they're accusing the other side of. And this is a perfect example right here in the next line. Attack POTUS Foundation, acting NYAG told. Okay, so remember, the AG was Eric Schneiderman. And of course, he had something to hide, didn't he? He was blocking the NXIVM investigation. And then, of course, he gets busted for smacking women up, and that's not cool. And so now we got this acting New York Attorney General. It's been a long day, folks. Barbara Underwood, and she files this lawsuit against Donald Trump and his charity. And that's exactly what Schneiderman was going to do anyway. That was what he was trying to do. And they're just trying to tie him up. They're trying to get restitution for his charity, and it's basically just a legal mess, trying to kind of bring his name through the mud. And it's projection. Why? Because the Clinton Foundation was mentioned in the IG report. So what better way to go after Trump than to go after his foundation? Why? Well, that's exactly what I just said. Clinton Foundation. Nightmare Awake. Slush fund. Children. Okay. Well, Nightmare Awake is probably going to be referring to some really, really creepy stuff that I'm not going to get into at this moment. But of course, we knew about the slush fund, and we knew about the trafficking children, and we're going to start finding all of this stuff. And of course, all this stuff we found out through Anthony Weiner, who was a known pedo. And of course, the guy blocking it is Eric Schneiderman. It's all coming down to New York, isn't it? It's all coming down to New York. All this pedophilia, and everybody's trying to make sure that they can kind of posture for whatever's going to go down in New York. The claimed political attack regarding case against POTUS. And I see that we're missing an I again. Well, they're just simply saying that this is political warfare and that they're just trying to do this to kind of ramp up for midterms. And although, let's face it, both sides are jockeying for midterms, this is clearly not a political attack. This is definitely a right or wrong thing. But projection is the classic deep state method. POTUS and Russia, same thing. The more we investigated in between POTUS and Russia, the more we found out that the collusion was really coming on Hillary Clinton's side. Why? Again, because Hussein, etc., and Russia. HRC, Hussein, etc., Russia. Yeah, they were the ones wrapped up all about it. The claim, political attack regarding case against POTUS. It's a pattern. Yeah, exactly. It's a pattern. Now, I'm not really sure. Here again, we have this missing I. Okay, there it is. but then it isn't here. So let me know what you guys think about that missing I, but we keep seeming to miss the I. Next post takes you here to a New York Mag link, and Q says important to remember. And here's the link right here. Fired White House official hired by DOJ at Trump's insistence. Ezra Cohen Watnick, a controversial former national security aide to President Donald Trump who was pushed out of the White House by H.R. McMaster, is rejoining the Trump administration. In his new role, he will serve as Attorney General Jeff Sessions' national security advisor. A 31-year-old former intelligence officer, Cohen Watnick was brought on to Trump's National Security Council by Michael Flynn, the president's first national security advisor. When Flynn's 24-day tenure ended in February of 2017, his replacement, H.R. McMaster, began cleaning house, but he wasn't able to remove Cohen Watnick, who reportedly used his alliances with Jared Kushner and Steve Bannon to stay in the White House. McMaster eventually got his way, pushing out Cohen Watnick last summer after he became involved with Representative Devin Nunes and his attempts to prove Trump's claim that President Obama wiretapped Trump Tower. He then went to work for Silicon Valley tech giant Oracle, according to Talking Points memo, which said his return to the Trump administration has been in the works for months. With McMaster out of the way, Trump moved to bring back Cohen Watnick, Bloomberg reported Wednesday. Trump personally ordered the Department of Justice to hire, Bloomberg says, despite a general policy not to rehire people who were fired. Okay, so clearly President Trump wants this guy back. He was a Flynn guy. I can't help but imagine that they've had some conversations. He's going to be in his new role, Attorney General Jeff Sessions, National Security Advisor. Now, let me take you over to his Wikipedia here. And there's some good stuff here, but I want to mostly highlight this here. And this is about halfway down here. It is alleged that Cohen Watnick inadvertently identified reports suggesting that members of Trump's campaign team had been subjected to incidental surveillance by the United States intelligence community as part of an unrelated review of privacy procedures. This information was passed on to Chairman of the United States House Permanent Select Committee on Intelligence, Devin Nunes, by Assistant White House Counsel Michael Ellis. In April 2017, the Associated Press quoted a U.S. official as saying that although Cohen Watnick had access to those kinds of intelligence materials, he did not play a role in helping Nunes gain access to the documents. According to a U.S. official, Cohen Watnick was not involved in showing the material to Nunes, did not clear Nunes onto the White House grounds, did not review the material with Nunes, and was not even aware that the material was going to be shared with Chairman Nunes. It has been reported that Cohen Watnick has advocated using the American intelligence community to overthrow the current Iranian government. All right, so interesting stuff about this Cohen Watnick, who is going to be coming into play. Q says it is important to remember. Now, I think it's important to note, too, that McMaster was trying to replace Cohen Watnick with Linda Weisgold, who was the author of the Benghazi Talking Points. And so I can't help but think there is an interesting conflict of interest there, and we'll have to see how that all plays out. And it looks like it's going to happen over the next coming 7 days. Let's move on. 17 minutes after the hour of 1, Devin Nunes says, "Can anyone tell me who the DOJ lawyer is that speaks French via text in the IG report? This will save a lot of time in the hearings this week, so my colleagues won't have to ask this question." Q says, "See next, eggshells, Q." Well, I would imagine that Nunes was referring to the Viva la Resistance comment here. This is an exchange between FBI Attorney 1 and 2. It says the third exchange we identified was on November 22nd, 2016. FBI Attorney 2 sent an instant message to FBI Attorney 1 commenting on the amount of money the subject of an FBI investigation had been paid while working on the Trump campaign. FBI Attorney 1 responded, "Is it making you rethink your commitment to the Trump administration?" FBI Attorney 2 replied, "Hell no," and then added, "Viva la Resistance." FBI Attorney 1 responded that Trump was going to eliminate all of our pensions in order to pay for people like the person discussed in the instant message exchange. And FBI Attorney 1 and FBI Attorney 2 then began a discussion of federal pension and retirement issues. So it sounds like maybe we will be finding out who these FBI attorneys were. Q says, "See next," which takes us over here. And this was a post from back in May talking about the cleaned out DOJ. And let's just give a quick rundown again. We had James Baker fired reported today, resigned false. So evidently he was fired in January. Lisa Page, fired, reported today, resigned, testimony received. We talked about that. Tracking why, added. Mike Corton, FBI Assistant Director for Public Affairs, fired, cooperating under resign title. Josh Campbell, Special Assistant to James Comey, fired DOJ. David Loffman, Chief of the Justice Department's Counterintelligence and Export Control Section, National Security, HRC Email Invest, fired, forced. John Carlin, Assistant Attorney General, Head of DOJ's National Security Division, fired, forced. Sally Yates, Deputy Attorney General and Acting Attorney General, fired. Mary McCord, Acting Assistant Attorney General, Acting Head of the DOJ's National Security Division, fired, forced. Bruce Orr, Associate Deputy Attorney General, demoted 2 times, cooperating witness, power removed. Rachel Brand, Associate Attorney General, number 3 behind Deputy Attorney General Rod Rosenstein, fired, forced. Cross against House Senate resignations, final term announcements, plus CEO departures. Okay, so these were some of the people that were going, and I can't help but think that maybe our Attorney 1 and Attorney 2 might be in here. Could it be Rachel Brand? Could it be Bruce Orr? Who knows? But it looks like we might be getting some insight into that soon, but I'm assuming that is probably what Devin Nunes is referring, unless somebody speaks some really good French. All right, let's move on. This post comes in at 43 minutes past the hour of 1, and we have D. And we've seen D for a while, and we're not really sure exactly. In the past, that's meant Democrats, and this could mean that Q is talking to somebody particularly. Q says, morning sun brings heat, full moon coming, undiscovered stars learned, missions forward. Okay. Well, we're going to see in the next couple posts here that this message wasn't necessarily directed towards us, but I do want to let you know about this because this just happened. Let's check it out.
America's vital interest in space lost out to special interests in Washington, except, of course, for the senators and congressmen here. They would never do it, right, Dana? But all of that is changing. We know that. My administration is reclaiming America's heritage as the world's greatest spacefaring nation. The essence of the American character is to explore new horizons and to tame new frontiers. But our destiny beyond the Earth is not only a matter of national identity, but a matter of national security. So important for our military, so important, and people don't talk about it. When it comes to defending America, it is not enough to merely have an American presence in space. We must have American dominance in space. So important. Very importantly, I'm hereby directing the Department of Defense and Pentagon to immediately begin the process necessary to establish a Space Force as the 6th branch of the armed forces. That's a big statement. We are going to have the Air Force and we are going to have the Space Force, separate but equal. And in December, I signed a historic directive that will return Americans to the moon for the first time since 1972, if you can believe that. Always remembering it's about that, but it's also about jobs and the economy. This is a great thing we're doing. This time we will do more than plant our flag and leave our footprints. We will establish a long-term presence, expand our economy, and build the foundation for an eventual mission to Mars, which is actually going to happen very quickly.
Well, you heard the man, folks. Buckle up and drink your Tang. We are going to the moon. Q says D. Morning sun brings heat. Full moon coming. Undiscovered stars learn. Missions forward. Q. Still don't know what the D means. Could be defense in this case, since President Trump was talking about defense. But could it be that we are going to see the full moon now that we are going back to the moon? We might actually see what's on the dark side of the moon. Part of me kind of wondered if maybe the D was kind of representing the dark side of the moon. Not really sure. Undiscovered stars learn, missions forward. I have a feeling we are going to get a lot more information regarding space in the coming months. Q says, President Trump says that he would like to get this Mars thing hashed out in the next year. So that's pretty quick, which leads me to think that there must be some knowledge there about getting to Mars that we are going to be finding out about, and hopefully some undiscovered stars to learn about as well. So pretty exciting stuff. Let's move on to the next post, where we've got these couple links here, one to the Tehran Times, one to Iran Daily. And Q says money, not security, nuke development prevention, owned politicians. Returning to the news, Q. And it takes you to this, Tehran Times. EU is taking steps to protect companies in Iran. The European Union is taking steps to protect EU companies investing in Iran from renewed U.S. sanctions on Tehran after U.S. President Donald Trump pulled out of the 2015 nuclear deal. And I can pretty much sum it up here. After the U.S. withdrawal, Iran wants assurances from the remaining parties that its interests are guaranteed, otherwise it will resume nuclear activities with a higher speed. So they're kind of trying to call out again and say, don't you guys want to come invest? Because we're just going to build weapons if you don't. The fact of the matter is that they can't do that without that investment. So they're kind of screwed. And this is off the Iran Daily, saying that Iran should attract small, medium-sized European firms. Iran should encourage small and medium-sized European companies to invest in the mining sector in a bid to counter the impacts of U.S. sanctions, said the head of Iran Mine House. And this can be kind of summed up here by saying U.S. sanctions not only block American firms from doing business in Iran, but also bar foreign firms that do business there from accessing the entire U.S. banking and financial system. So that's going to count out quite a few businesses. Going to make sure that nobody gets into this sector unless they're small, medium-sized European firms. And Iran's going to be scrambling for that. And Q, of course, is saying that this was always about money, not security. This was never really about, this. They didn't really have the nukes to develop that we were trying to prevent. These were about owned politicians. And it looks like this is going to be returning to the news. So maybe Iran is going to step up the rhetoric, and we know that Q has been mentioning that Iran is next, so I wouldn't be surprised if we see a lot more articles like this, and it's a lot about these politicians that are still scrambling to get their money, all going through the EU, and so I can't imagine that this is going to die quietly. Let's move on to the last post here, 27 minutes past the hour of 2, and an Anon says, probably going down the wrong road here, but Q post about sun, moon, etc. Elon Musk. Heat equals Tesla cars exploding. Moon equals full moon 627 or 628, which is true. We have a full moon coming up. Stars. Musk. Birthday 628. Mission SpaceX launch 629. Don't know if the dates mean anything other than pointing to Musk. Raw speculation at this point. Question. Anyone have any information on Elon Musk? Seems to be Eric Schmidt versus Elon Musk regarding AI. Tesla cars exploding. Any info about who was killed in one or more of these? Links to anyone in cabal? Would Musk be someone who might testify about something? Fraud in the government handouts for an alternate energy? Anyone? Bueller? And Q says, message not for Anons. So I don't want to dig too much into that if the message is not for us. That was just my take on the space stuff. Could be that was what was being talked about. Now this was posted what would have been my morning, and I guess that would have been, it would have been early morning for you yesterday morning that you would have gotten this. So, and of course the meeting was just, the announcement was just maybe about an hour ago. So there you go. Those are your Q posts for now. Sorry about the jumbled up videos. I had to make 2 today, and I will be back if there are more Q posts tomorrow. And wow, that was quite a bit of material that we covered. But I think all some pretty interesting stuff. Go back and check that out and see what you think about that video. I will leave I don't have the link for you yet because I'm not even sure if that's up. But if you check whitehouse.gov, they will probably be putting that up shortly. And as always, if no more new Q posts come up, I will be on top of it as soon as possible. But for now, folks, I am going to bed because I'm extremely tired. Have yourself a great day. I'm guessing it's about your afternoon in the Western Hemisphere now. So enjoy your day. I will be crashing out, and we will talk to you very, very soon. And until next time, stay hydrated.